Welcome to NDM English. I am Nate, and this discussion will focus on the fifth section called The End of It from A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Despite the name of the stave, this isn't the end of Scrooge's life, but the start of a new life for Scrooge as he becomes something of a new person. He wakes up from the dreams and looks around to discover that although everything was normal, nothing really feels the same. Everything is as if it becomes new to him through not so much unfamiliarity of all the objects and the places, but they have new meaning to him. Of course, his past life, he was not the greatest person in the world. In fact, he was very much not liked by anybody, and he didn't like anybody in return. As he looks around, he says of himself that, "I don't know anything. I'm quite a baby." And he realizes he really doesn't mind the fact that he is experiencing the world as if he was a newborn. Now, there's happiness that has never existed in his life to this degree. He is so happy and energized from the night before that he's not able to do anything correctly. He tries to put on clothes, he puts it on backwards, he puts it on inside out. He gets tangled in his own socks as he tries to put them on. Everything is as if he's learning it. He knows about all this stuff because he's an older man. But the energy given to him by the happiness throws him off. He becomes confused and disoriented, even though he does know the apartment and his clothes, and even while he's trying to shave, it's very difficult because he's moving around and being joyful. The only thing that he's really aware of is that he's happy in a way that he never has been before. The bedroom and apartment that he is living in has become something of a witness to all the visions that he had. He looks and recognizes the gruel saucepan that he had eaten from before going to sleep. And then this reminds him of Marley, the ghost, entering his house. And he sees the door that Marley entered. Also, he looks out the window and thinks of the ghosts that he saw wandering the earth. And then he enters this room that he saw the ghost of Christmas present at, and he looks at the corner that he first saw that ghost in, and all of these things to him say that this really happened. Knowing that his home is exactly like what the dream state was like, tells him that these were not just dreams. It really existed for him. These are all physical reminders of his ghostly encounters that he interprets as evidence for their very existence. Even when he goes downstairs and looks at the door knocker, there is a new life to that knocker. He really never paid attention to it in the past. It wasn't something that he ever considered. It was part of the door. He entered it, he went upstairs to his house and left it alone. But now, having reminded himself of the ghost of Marley's face being on that door knocker, it's become more than just that object. It has become a reinforcer every day that he'll be reminded of the lessons learned from these three spirits. Now, Scrooge finds out that it's Christmas by looking out the window and seeing this boy who's wandering around for some reason near where he lives. The boy is not someone he normally would have seen because, again, he lives out of the way from everybody else. Yet here's this boy in Sunday clothes, so the boy has been celebrating Christmas, coming around and probably for some curious reason looking at this area of town that no one really lives other than Scrooge at the moment. This boy so excites Scrooge for the options that he now has for seeing someone. He tells the boy to go down to the market and purchase the biggest turkey in the window. There apparently is two turkeys. There's a prize turkey for probably someone of moderate means, and then there's a much larger turkey that someone with a lot of money can purchase. It's the biggest one, probably downtown. that there is in any of the markets. So Scrooge tells the boy to buy the biggest, most prized turkey in the world. It very much excites Scrooge to see this huge turkey, and that he knows that it's going to go to Bob Cratchit, his assistant in the business, who doesn't have very much money. And he even offers to have this turkey sent in a cab because of its huge size. Now, this huge turkey in some ways represents the expansion of Scrooge's heart. Before, he wouldn't have even thought of giving anyone a turkey, much less himself. He ate the night before just a little bit of porridge and gruel in a saucepan. That wasn't much of a dinner. He wasn't feeling very well physically. And now, physically, he's feeling nothing but joy and happiness and wanting to jump around. So this turkey is a huge reminder, by its very size, of the physical changes that are going on with at least the emotional happiness. So his generosity starts with taking care of Bob Cratchit with this huge turkey. Every conceivable action that can be taken with this turkey, including sending it with a cab, is done for this new way of living. The way Scrooge feels is, in a sense, very much hysterical, with laughter and a sense of giddy celebration. Giving this huge turkey to him is a sort of surprise to Bob Cratchit, because he doesn't really say who it comes from. He's not going to tell him right off that this comes from Scrooge. The very first offers of generosity are done more as pranks, because no one would really believe that Scrooge would do something so nice. Scrooge laughs as one who has practiced for years to laugh, although the idea that he laughs is something that hasn't been established by all the mean things that he's done. Now, after giving the turkey, he chuckles so strongly and for so long that he actually has to sit down and ends up crying. This is the ultimate joy of giving that he now feels. Now, his countenance has also changed as well. No more do the dogs try to keep their masters away from him, or that the people try to retreat to the opposite side of the street and ignore him and make sure that they're not near him, or even the beggars run away and would not dare to ask him for a cent or any kind of help. Those people now greet him and say Merry Christmas, as he finds that hearing those words are actually an exhilaration. Meeting these people becomes the very opposite of what it used to be. It used to be that he wanted to avoid everybody, and when he saw that everybody was avoiding him, that was something that he liked. Everything has changed to such a degree that meeting people is exciting. He wants to talk to them. He even goes up to beggars and, in vague terms, questions them. It doesn't say what kind of questioning he has, but probably it was about, what is it that I can do for you? How can I help you? Again, this is completely different than what it used to be. And generosity doesn't stop at the turkey. Once he encounters one of the men who had asked him for some donations to help the poor. Remember that he responded, I am paying for other things, such as jails and workhouses, that the government is trying to take care of to help others. Now he's excited to give this person money. He doesn't just give this person, but actually gives double what the person is asking for. Scrooge states that the reason he's doing this is because of all the years in the past that he didn't give. He's making up for his past mistakes. As with the Ghost of Christmas Future, he visits his nephew Fred, and this time on his own terms, not the terms of the dream. Last time he met, he didn't even call Fred, his nephew, by name. He just called him nephew and tried to tell him to go away. This time he actually goes to Fred's house, although it takes him a little bit of time to decide to knock on the door, and he greets the housekeeper and says that he knows the nephew. He'll go in, say hello. It will be like a reunion for the first time, even though he saw him on the streets and talked to him more than once. His nephew is very surprised, this happy, and willing to meet him. He actually frightens the nephew's wife as he pops his head into the kitchen. And then, of course, the party starts. The party is exactly like the dream. This is perhaps the best evidence that the dreams were more real than possibly supposed. The reason that is because he notices who is in the room, and he recognizes them from the dream. Now, there's a few possibilities of how he notices them and recognizes those people. He could very much have known the nephew and friends through the years. In that case, the faces would not be completely surprising. On the other hand, it could very well be the evidence that the ghosts did come and visit. So this very much could be the evidence in the book that the ghosts were real. There was one final show of the old Scrooge to Bob Cratchit. Scrooge warns Bob Cratchit that coming in late was too much. He walks up to Bob Cratchit with a stern look, and it seems like there is going to be trouble. Cratchit even cowers and prepares himself to be physically assaulted. That is how much Bob Cratchit dislikes the man that he has to work for in order to keep alive. Of course, instead of actually attacking him, Scrooge offers him a raise in salary and that he will do better for that man. Tiny Tim becomes the focal point of his generosity, as Scrooge even becomes a father figure, previously crippled boy. The story gives evidence that the boy becomes healed and lives for a long time. When Scrooge first saw Tiny Tim during the visitation of Ghost of Christmas Present, it was the first time that he actually felt some kind of a generosity toward another individual. He saw this crippled boy and learned that he was going to die, and he wonders what could happen to save this little boy. There's no indications in any other place in the story that he cared about anyone else. So by the end of the story, Scrooge goes out of his way to help Bob Cratchit, most likely so that he could help Tiny Tim become physically better. Once Scrooge was described as the worst human alive, and now he has become the best and kindest in the world. This is especially the case when it comes to Christmas cheer and celebrations. No one else tops him on being a person who celebrates Christmas in its spirit to such an extent. There is that complete change, that 180 switch from the worst to the best human. Now, the visions and visitations of the ghost only took place one night. This is opposite of what the ghost of Marley said. They would take 3 nights for the ghosts to show up and teach him. But the ghost of Marley was completely wrong. This is evidence that it was mostly dreams that Scrooge had, but very powerful ones. Scrooge looks at the physical existence of his room, of the party, of the people who live there, and he comes to the conclusion that there was more than just dreams. That might very well be the case, but there's no actual proof other than what he himself experienced. And he didn't experience these ghosts ever again. There's the pun, total abstinence principle, that has a few meanings. The most important is that he never saw any ghosts again. It was a one-night only experience. It also means that he abstains from his old Scrooge ways and that he doesn't care so much about hoarding money and that he would now do good deeds for other people. Now, even though the ghosts are no longer a part of his life, they will forever be an influence on him for the rest of his life. He, in turn, will influence others to be good people themselves. Those who aren't influenced by him might laugh at him, but there's one thing that has not changed about Scrooge, and that is he doesn't care what others think of him. He cares a lot about other people, but if people want to laugh at him, he doesn't mind. It is none of his business how other people feel about him. Now, the book ends with the famous quote of Tiny Tim, "God bless us, every one." So with those immortal words, the classic lives on since its publication. So why does this book live on for so long, especially in movies and television specials? Every few years it seems like a new version or a parody is produced on television or the movies. Well, we all know a Scrooge in life that we would like to see. They are people who, for whatever reason, are never happy and they only care about themselves. Maybe we in our own selves see a Scrooge and we want to change our life and become more generous to people. We have a hard time doing that. It is also a reminder that the Christmas spirit includes a lot more than just giving presents once a year. We have to have the spirit of Christmas always in our lives, giving to other people whenever the need arises. Coming at Christmas time near the end of the year, it prepares us for the New Year's resolutions, with the hopes of transforming ourselves into better people. The book may be very Christmas specific, but the message is a reminder to be the very best that we can be to others every day. It is important to be the nephew who never lost hope that Scrooge needed to be invited and treated decently, no matter how hard a person he was. These are not simply seasonal considerations. They are life-affirming actions and feelings that we should all have every day of our lives. The power of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol comes from the positive messages of getting rid of our greedy selves, treating others decently, and living a better life. Click the subscribe button and notification bell to not miss the next installments and analysis.